Let's begin with updates on the political situation in Rivers State, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara has foiled an alleged attempt by a police team to take over the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission during the wee hours of Friday. The policemen, who were said to have been led by a Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations, attempted to scale through the gates to cut away sensitive electoral materials meant for the conduct of Saturday's local government election from RSIEC's strong room. However, vigilant security officials alerted principal officers of the commission and relevant government authorities, who immediately informed Governor Siminalayi Fubara of the developments. Governor Fubara, who mustered a team of government officials, lawmakers from the state and a National Assembly, top political stakeholders, and other leaders to foil the attempt, addressed newsmen afterwards.
I have to say this on a very strong note. We've been taking enough nonsense from this institution. Everybody is aware of the court judgment, and even the judgment as they call it, the ruling. Did the ruling specify anywhere that the election should not hold? He said, don't give voters register. What are we doing with it? Okay, police, don't provide security. Don't provide security. Is this the same thing as blocking the election? I don't know what the relationship between Inspector General of Police and one person who claims he has so much power in this state. I don't know the relationship because it's beginning to go beyond the normal professional relationship. I said the government wrote a letter with the judgment that we have to him, and what he's acting on is what he called the federal government, the judgment he got from the Federal High Court. Even at that, if we should go by that, the judgment in the Federal High Court, did he say election should be bad? Lifu, that justice that gave that fraudulent judgment, did he say no election? Rather, it technically said, don't provide. We don't need your security. We will provide our own security. After all, it happened in Anambra. Go away with your security. But this election must hold. If you like whatever it is you want to do, do it. The election will hold, result will be declared. People will be sworn in. Yes. I say it here. What kind of a country is it? And when it comes to the issue of Rivers State, it becomes different. You're not ashamed of yourself. You call yourself Inspector General of Police.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. I will be here. In fact, if I go back and I hear anybody, I will come here. This is my property. And you don't have any power whatsoever to bar me from entering it. Yes. Just try it. That part of your history as a very wicked and fraudulent Inspector General of Police will include shooting Fubara. Yes. I think I've given you enough respect. Well, let me say it to all Rivers indigents. Everyone residing in Rivers State, election will hold. Yes. Yes. Election will hold. Yes. Anything that wants to happen, let it happen.
We are here. Other states did that. We are here.
I don't understand.
I'm not going anywhere. Let me fear anybody. We are here.
All other states did that.
So, everybody, just relax. Nothing is happening.
Nothing, though.
We are ready. If we know that this is going to be the last fight, and we will take it to the end. Thank you.
In the meantime, the People's Democratic Party has cautioned the Niger police against derailing democracy, charging the people of Rivers State to participate in the Saturday local government area election. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara reaffirmed on Thursday that the local government election will take place despite protests from supporters of his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, who is currently the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. In response, the PDP, through its National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, stated that the people of Rivers State are prepared for the election. According to Ologunagba, RSIEC has confirmed its readiness and possession of the necessary materials to conduct the election, asserting that no court under the Electoral Act 2022 can halt the process. Now, it is the eve of the Rivers State local government election, and so far, drama and intrigues have not been in short supply in the latest coming out of the state after the alleged attempt by the officers led by a Deputy Commissioner of Police attempted to take away electoral materials from the headquarters of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission Some pro-Fubara supporters have gathered in their numbers at the RSIEC office.
Now, the election will hold so that the local government will become autonomous, so that the workers will be benefiting and they also get more employment from the local government. Because no one here in River State is general language. It's no one language.
Lekan has nothing to tell the youth in River State. Election must show. It is him that we listen to. Election must show. I'm the street commander. Election must show. That's what I said. Nothing will happen. Lekan has nothing to tell us. Election must show. I'm from Calabare, so election must show.
When I tell Weekend making day in day, River State in our state, I will know use fear grow for this state. In the rule, go Abuja, may remain for that place, so that may see him, they see us, they hear, so that everybody could do our thing.
The River State Police Command has confirmed it will fully comply with the Federal High Court's judgment barring its involvement in the October 5 local government elections. This announcement came just 24 hours after key members of the People's Democratic Party, led by State Chairman Aaron Chukwuemeka, staged a protest against the election being conducted by the River State Independent Electoral Commission. Protesters marched to the headquarters of the Department of State Services and the State Police Command in Port Harcourt, urging both agencies to respect the court's ruling and withdraw from participating in the poll. While the police assured adherence to the court order, they emphasized that it would not prevent them from addressing any potential security concerns during the election. Reactions have continued to trail the 30-day National Youth Conference proposed by President Bola Tinubu while giving his Independence Day anniversary speech. President Tinubu had said the conference is aimed at addressing opportunities, unemployment, social justice, education, and other diverse challenges confronting the Nigerian youths. However, the Nigerian Youth Union has called on the President Bola Tinubu-led government to implement the recommendations of the 2014 Sovereign National Conference in order to fix the country's challenges. The NYU President Chinonso Obasi stated this at a press conference in Abuja, adding that the challenges confronting the country as identified by the National Confab were still around 10 years later. To discuss this, we're joined by the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi. Mr. Akpobi, it's nice to have you around on the news.
Good evening, thanks for having me.
So before now, Nigerians have clamored for an attentive government, a responsible and a responsive government. And now we have a president who has come out to say, Nigerian youths, come together, let's have a dialogue and chart a progressive course for you and for the country. But it seems as though some youth-based associations are resenting to these to these hands of friendship being extended to them. Do you think right now it would be nice to probably, sit with the Nigerian government and have a national dialogue that could, in a way, help improve the prospects of the Nigerian youths?
Yeah, there's no better time than now to have a dialogue, to engage those with contracted governance with our votes. Let's not forget too that during the president's campaign, he promised that he will listen to young people, and from his last speech on the independent speech goes to show that he knows that as a generation of young people he needs to negotiate with, he needs to engage with to have a better Nigeria. And what the youth conference is a right step in the right direction, but I want to caution that it should not be hijacked as usual. It should not be the mode of selection of these young people should not be through the most of the binaries that divide us, mostly with party differences, ethnicities, and all that. We're already in Nigeria today. We already know young people that have proven track record, young people that will amplify the needs of other young Nigerians, and those that have their actions and inactions have placed Nigeria first before their personal interest.
Okay, so you are throwing your weight behind this national conference, but some youths are saying that the government should implement the recommendations of the 2014 Sovereign National Conference instead, if it hopes to fix the challenges bedeviling the country. So, which would you go for?
In as much as I will not totally say the previous conference shouldn't be enacted, but let's not forget to our needs then when that conference was held, and our needs now differs, and people evolve, needs evolve a lot, wants of people evolve. At the moment, Nigeria is overwhelmed with a population of more than 200 million people, which 70% of 70% is made up of young people whose potential, whose talent, whose initiative will drive our economy. And the president knows that. That's why he has, talked about this National Youth Conference. It's for me, I'll subscribe to it, but in as much as I can still say the last conference to be implemented, but it's good to engage the young Nigerians at the moment.
Okay, so the talks are around unemployment, social justice, education, and all other issues. If we are going to have a robust dialogue along these lines, what would you expect the context or the content of these kind of issues to be discussed that can bring about solutions? I'm talking about visible solutions now in terms of changing the narratives.
Nigeria is blessed with young people that are talented, that are willing to play their role in nation building, but have not been given that platform due to differences in social strata and other things. But if our advice at the moment, we are plagued with unemployment, insecurity, the proposed conference will center around social justice and all that. But what's key is the implementation, because we'll be having conferences before now. The implementation of the resolution of this conference is key. And I'm looking forward to seeing President Bola Ahmed be implementing the discussions of this conference. Not forgetting to that, I want to advise that those who are benefiting from the rotten status quo of this country should not hijack the selection process of the people that will amplify the muted voices of other people as far as this conference is concerned.
All right, Elvis Akpobi, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, we go on a break on the news right now. When we return, we'll take you to Borno State, even as the government there has declared cholera outbreak in the aftermath of flood. Do stay with us, we'll tell you more. Many thanks for staying with us to Health Now. The Borno State government has officially declared a cholera outbreak following a surge in suspected cholera cases, majorly caused by the recent flood that devastated parts of the country, or the state rather. As of the latest reports, there are 451 suspected cases, with 128 confirmed positive through rapid diagnostic tests and 17 cases confirmed through culture testing. Health officials are urging residents to prioritize hygiene and seek medical attention if they experience symptoms.
I am officially declaring a cholera outbreak in Borno State. Following the reports of sporadic cases of watery diarrhea and positive rapid diagnosis tests, as well as positive culture results from the National Reference Laboratory, we are now facing a significant public health challenge that demands urgent attention and action. So far, we have not witnessed any death or mortality in Borno State as a result of cholera. The state is still expecting more supplies of the cholera vaccines from the Federal Ministry of Health. However, we are recording increasing number of acute watery diarrhea, which is suspicious of cholera, which is not unconnected with the flood devastation. However, you have to bear in mind our neighbors, Adamawa State has also declared cholera outbreak recently, in fact, with a lot of fatalities. We've also seen situations similar to this in Yobe.
Now, the Yoruba community in Borno State has called for urgent support for its 4,600 members who were affected by the recent flooding that submerged 70% of Maiduguri and its environs. Their president, Saka Abiodun, while speaking with newsmen in Maiduguri, said most affected are artisans struggling for survival. Abiodun lamented that the flood disasters have destroyed homes and infrastructure, displacing hundreds of families. Their sources of livelihood and property were also affected, causing a lack of access to basic necessities like shelter, food, clean water, and health care. He solicited individuals, corporate organizations, and government agencies to come to their aid. The community president, however, commended the state government for its prompt response to provide succor to the flood victims. Away from that, the Nigerian Medical Association has proposed public-private partnership in the health sector to enhance sustainability, including efficiency, in order to reverse medical tourism in favor of the country. This proposal was made at a medical expo recently held in Lagos to find ways of strengthening Nigeria's private health sector to be a key player in the global health industry. News Central's Omolola Ololade tells us more.
Nigeria contributes an annual flight capital of over $2 billion to medical tourism industry through its export of patients, thereby boosting the economies of other nations. To stem this negative trend, the Nigerian Medical Association at the Healthcare Expo proposed the adoption of public-private partnerships in the health sector to enhance sustainability and efficiency towards reversing the current flow of medical tourism.
Is informed by the decision of the Nigerian Medical Association to take steps that will help us to reverse medical tourism in this country in favor of Nigeria, so that Nigerians will not have to travel out of this country in order to seek for health care.
While the country's inadequate healthcare infrastructure and the mass exodus of qualified medical personnel to other countries may have contributed to the surge in medical tourism, experts believe providing medical practitioners with the necessary support will change the narrative of brain drain in the country.
Why can't we see our own doctors here in Lagos and in Nigeria? It's because we've not paid attention to ensuring that their welfare, their space, their environment is properly regulated, that they are appreciated, and we're paying correct tariffs for their services. When we're also partnering with private health insurance agencies, HMOs, to be able to allow them to operate in Lagos, but at the same time to make sure that they're not undermining each other and that that space is regulated and controlled by a combination of both government and private sector.
Medical practitioners, however, emphasize the importance of reversing medical tourism while urging the government to play its role in ensuring that the healthcare space is protected to accommodate private investment.
It's important we reverse medical tourism, and it has to be driven by the Nigerian Medical Association so that we can give opportunity for people to know what are the healthcare indices, healthcare healthcare services available for us in Nigeria. They are cost effective. There's little dollar flight because what you pay for those services abroad are very, very much. For example, to get a kidney transplant done in America, you take about 2.5 years to be on the list.
From the perspective of experts, retaining healthcare spending within the country will help stem medical tourism, as those funds will be reinvested into further developing medical infrastructure and services. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
But I'll tell you that the RSIEC Consultative Forum, a socio-cultural group in Nigeria, has expressed deep concern over the escalating insecurity in northern Nigeria, which is severely affecting farming and livelihoods. Following a sympathy visit to Borno State, the Arawa Consultative Forum called on the federal government to take immediate and decisive action to address the alarming rates of violence, kidnapping and banditry in the region. New Central's Massacre reports that the forum, while donating 20 million naira to aid recovery of victims, called for enhanced support for the flood victims who have suffered significant losses. Moving on now, Nigeria's federal government has been tasked to revisit current policies in the transportation sector. And this was as experts converged on Abuja for the 2024 Association of Transport and Aviation Correspondents seminar, which was held in the nation's capital. They say governments must invest in the transportation sector in order to open up the economy and address challenges being faced with obsolete policies. But we will tell you more about this and bring you other stories on the news. Don't go away. When we return, part of the stories we'll be telling you has to do with the Teachers' Day, even as the federal government has urged teachers in Nigeria to embrace digital transformation. We'll tell you more when we return. Stay with us. Now, Nigeria's federal government has tasked teachers nationwide to embrace technology and digital transformation. The permanent secretary of the ministry, while speaking to newsmen ahead of the World Teachers' Day, assured teachers in the country of the federal government's commitment to supporting them in their profession and urged them to adopt contemporary teaching methods.
Government holds the teaching profession in very high esteem, having established more specialized universities of education and implemented the policy of bursary in Nigeria universities for students studying education. I therefore urge teachers to look beyond current circumstances at home, respond to the challenges of adopting contemporary teaching, conducting researches, and embracing technology and digital transformation.
We now tell you that the Democratic Republic of Congo, the epicenter of an mpox outbreak, will launch a vaccination campaign against the virus on October 5 and will start with the areas most affected due to the current limited stocks of vaccines. Health Minister Samuel Roger Kamba confirmed this at a press conference in the capital, Kinshasa. The African Union's Disease Control Center said more than 800 people across Africa have died from mpox. But I'll tell you that the Mauritius presidency has announced on Friday that legislative elections will hold on November 10. This follows a landmark agreement with Britain to regain sovereignty over the Chagos Islands. Parliament has been dissolved and candidates must be nominated by October 22. The elections were originally due by late November, but the announcement coincides with the historical deal. Britain will retain a lease for a military base on Diego Garcia for an initial 99 days. The Chagos Islands have long been a point of contention, with Britain resisting international pressure to return them. We take it to Southern Africa to tell you that e-hailing drivers on Friday gathered at the Bolt offices in Johannesburg in protest following a tragic incident that has drawn attention to the rising violence they face while working. A viral, heartbreaking video on social media shows an e-hailing driver being brutally shot and killed by two men posing as customers. This shocking act of violence reveals, among others, the dangers that many drivers encounter each day as they provide a vital service of transportation. In response to this latest and horrific crime, e-hailing drivers are demanding justice, security, and better protection measures from the both offices. News Central's Bongane Siziba has more in this report. We'll bring you more details in our subsequent bulletins for that particular story. In the meantime, South Africans are concerned with the rising rate of gun violence in the country in recent weeks. The nation has been shaken by a string of violent incidents, including the tragic deaths of 18 individuals at a gathering in the Eastern Cape and the shocking murder of an e-hailing driver in Hillbrow. These incidents have sparked widespread outcry and renewed calls for action to address the ongoing crisis of gun violence in many communities. In light of these harrowing events, questions are being raised about how firearms are accessed and how many are ending up in the wrong hands.
The gun violence in South Africa, I think it's bigger than us, you know, because you can trace it all the way maybe from 20 years back, you understand? So it's there, everybody knows it. We don't know how and when it's going to be solved, because these are the things that we meet every day. Just as I'm speaking to you right now, yesterday one driver was gun pointed at Rosettenville, right? So that tells you that even after this ordeal, it's still going to happen. So we don't know how the government is going to assist us, because this is bigger than us. It's a matter of the government maybe trying to come up with ways of capping the number of guns that are out there.
It's like there's too much freedom of guns in South Africa, because everyone has a gun. Most of people, and they're not lawful guns. So even the criminals can buy guns anyway, because most of the time we're being robbed using guns.
People should not be given guns, you know, because everybody, like even the police, when they stop you or when they see you just walking there and they see a gun, they would think it's in law, you know. So they should stop giving people guns, you know, and then I think they will be able to control it, because they don't know who is who now. Everybody's got a gun, and sometimes when they stop and search, they find the person has got a, what you call, the permit for the gun. And then, so if they can stop giving people the guns.
Gun violence in South Africa, I would say it's very bad now, because most people are getting killed and those guns are unlicensed. So everyone that gets killed, for example, like before, that gun is untraceable. They don't even know the owners. Almost each and every gun outside there does have a gun.
Away from that, the number of business startups that have been springing up in Africa in recent time has been impressive. Though such startups have attracted funding and further investments from outside of the continent, they still struggle with certain challenges that could be avoided at this time. This and more made up the conversation at this year's Africa Breakfast Convo organized by Alison Africa. I will bring you more details as regards this in our subsequent bulletins. Still ahead on the news. UN horrified after gang massacre left at least 70 dead in Haiti. We will tell you more and bring you all the stories when we return from this break. Join us again. Outside of Africa, the United Nations on Friday confirmed that at least 70 people have been killed in a gang massacre in Haiti. According to the UN Human Rights Office, armed gunmen, reportedly members of the Grand Grif group, stormed through the town of Port Sunday with automatic rifles, opening fire on residents. A UN spokesperson described the gang attack in Haiti's Artibonite region as horrifying, adding that at least 16 people were seriously injured in the assault. Gang members are also believed to have set fire to at least 45 homes and 34 vehicles, forcing residents to flee for their lives. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has declared the missile strikes on Israel by Iran to be correct, logical and lawful in front of a gathering in Tehran. The country's supreme leader described the attack as the minimum punishment for what he called Israel's astonishing crimes while leading Friday prayers in the capital, something he has not done since 2020. Khamenei's speech comes 3 days after Iran fired nearly 200 missiles at Israel in what it said was retaliation for the assassination of Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah.
الاقصا که در سال گذشته همین ایام تقریبا انجام گرفت یک حرکت درست منطقی قانونی بین المللی بود و حق با فلسطینی ها بود. العدو الخبیث الجبان اذ عجز عن توجیه ضربة مؤثرة للبنية المتماسكة لحزب الله او حماس او الجهاد الاسلامی و غیرها هیچ محکمه‌ای، هیچ مرکزی، هیچ سازمان بین المللی حق ندارد به ملت فلسطین اعتراض کنه که چرا در مقابل رژیم غاصب صهیونیستی سینه سپر کردی. جمهوری اسلامی هر وظیفه‌ای در این زمینه داشته باشد با قدرت و صلابت و قاطعیت انجام خواهد داد.
European countries have officially approved additional tariffs of up to 35% on electric vehicles manufactured in China. Following the decision, European Commission spokesperson Olaf Gill said the EU and China would continue to work diligently to explore alternative solutions.
Today, the European Commission's proposal to impose definitive countervailing duties on imports of battery electric vehicles from China has obtained the necessary support from EU member states for the adoption of tariffs. This represents another step towards the conclusion of the Commission's anti-subsidy investigation. In parallel, the EU and China continue to work hard to explore an alternative solution that would have to be fully WTO compatible, adequate in addressing the injurious subsidization established by the Commission's investigation, monitorable and enforceable.
Talking business now, the number of business startups springing up in Africa in recent times has been impressive. Those such startups have attracted funding and further investment from outside of the continent. They still struggle with certain challenges that could be avoided at this time. This and more made up the conversation at this year's Africa Breakfast Convo organized by Alison Africa. Here's the package.
Africa is currently navigating complex geopolitical challenges while seeing an increase in economic opportunities. And if these opportunities are not pointed out, many local entrepreneurs and even foreign investors may miss out or invest wrongly. Notable entrepreneurs and captains of industry gathered to have these conversations at the Africa Breakfast Convo.
This year, our breakfast event was themed Africa Breakfast Convos, and it's convos plural because we're having lots of conversations surrounding a variety of issues and topics and sectors ranging from female entrepreneurship, sustainable development goals, fintech, financial inclusion, investment, VC funding, etc. The biggest takeaway for me from that panel was really the fact that it's not up to the governments to be the facilitators of change.
We had to go through the fire.
The importance of the telecoms industry in African business cannot be overemphasized. However, regardless of the growth of the industry on the continent, there still are challenges to be addressed.
If you look at it from a population coverage point of view, we're looking at anything between 82 and 89% coverage with 4G, which for a country in Africa is great. But the one thing we should be looking at is access. How many people actually have access? If you look at the challenges we have around devices and the device ecosystem, you find out that we still have a huge gap. We have people who use the phones that we call palasa. They can't actually get on the internet. We have people who should have laptops and all that and should be able to do work. That all they can afford are phones that are not optimized.
Whether it's fintech, health tech, or
The breakfast convo comes just around the same time with the UN General Assembly, where the SDGs were a major discourse, and empowering women falls under such discussions.
So for me, the focus is always on women, obviously, African women in technology. The funding issues, the education, the training, where startups could get money. I think that this panel really covered it all in terms of infrastructure. If you're a person that didn't know anything about Africa and where to start or where to get general information, this would have been the place for you to be. Here at Allison, we have a mentorship program that's dedicated specifically to African female tech founders. Our mentorship program is called the Futurist Female Mentorship Program. It mentors African female tech founders in how to leverage PR and communications to help them in their business, and also to storytell around their startups, specifically so that they're able to tell their story in such a way that they're able to secure investments.
If African entrepreneurs are to take their rightful place as giants in business world, more gatherings like this need to be encouraged at home and abroad. In New York for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Ghana's government has received approval from over 90% of bondholders to restructure $13 billion in international debt, marking a crucial step in its economic recovery efforts. The restructuring aims to reduce the nation's debt burden and meet conditions set by the IMF as part of a $3 billion bailout package. On Business Edge earlier today, Patrick Abanga, a financial analyst, spoke about the impact of the deal on investors' confidence and fiscal responsibility.
And the perspective I want us to consider here is that where were we as a country? So we got to a point where government clearly saw that there was a need for them to go into a restructuring program because the revenue that we're generating as a country was not enough to meet both the international creditors and also the local creditors, which is channeled through bonds and treasury bills. And for that matter, government had to quickly go into an agreement where IMF was going to come in to help bring some kind of credibility to any attempt that it wanted to issue in terms of a bailout. So I think that Ghana over the period had to go through this challenge because that was the only way for us to be able to meet, maturing obligations both to the local creditors and also to the international community.
Still talking business, Manchester City has been charged with breaking financial fair play rules over a 9-year period, which started in 2009 and went on until 2018. They've also been charged with failing to cooperate with Premier League investigations into their finances. Earlier on Business Edge, Nkobile Ndlovu, Director, Cash and Sports Research and Advisory, shared his view on the possibility of sanction being given to Manchester City.
I don't think necessarily that there is a sort of preferential treatment to Manchester City. I think that Manchester City have got very good lawyers and they've managed to get themselves out of this issue time and time again when it had come up, and they are taking the very best of the best lawyers to fight with, on this case at the moment. So I think that they're going to try their very best to get away with it. But I don't necessarily think that there's a preferential treatment for them specifically. I think there's been kind of a standard treatment of most clubs in the Premier League in terms of refereeing. But the very difficult issue is the fact that this financial mispropriety was kind of hidden for a long time until it came out in the football leagues. And then UEFA tried to
In sports, the Confederation of African Football has announced a revised date for the upcoming 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers between Ghana and Sudan, initially scheduled for Friday, October 11, 2024. The first match has been brought forward by a day and will now take place on Thursday, October 10, 2024. This match will be hosted at the Accra Sports Stadium in Ghana, with the kickoff set for 5 p.m. local time. The second leg, originally slated for a later date, has also been rescheduled. Match Day 4 will now be played on Tuesday, October 15, 2024, at the Tariffs of February Stadium in Benin, Libya, where Sudan will host Ghana. Alvaro Morata has been included in Spain's 25-man squad for their upcoming Nations League matches, coach Luis de la Fuente announced on Friday. The Spanish captain and AC Milan forward returns to the squad after overcoming a muscular problem that forced him to miss his country's opening two encounters in Group A4 of the Nations League. Missing from the squad is midfield linchpin Rodri, who will be out for the rest of the season after suffering an anterior cruciate ligament injury. His role is expected to be filled by Real Sociedad midfielder Martin Zubimendi. Midfielder Mikel Merino, injured shortly after joining Arsenal in the summer, also makes a return to the squad. Tottenham Hotspur captain Son Heung-min will be unavailable for their Premier League trip to Brighton and Hove Albion, manager Ange Postecoglou said on Friday, and the South Korean international will also miss two World Cup qualifying matches. The 32-year-old forward sustained a hamstring injury during a Spurs Europa League match against Karabakh on September 26 in London. Spurs are on the back of 5 straight wins across all competitions. Defender Destiny Udogie, who missed Thursday's 2-1 win at Ferencváros in the Europa League due to a right quad injury is sustained during their 3-0 win at Manchester United last weekend, is expected to return. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we'll look at our top stories again. Rivers State Police Command has said it will stay out of local government election. Borno State has declared cholera outbreak in aftermath of flood. We also told you that DR Congo is set to start mpox vaccination campaign. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422 Star Times, channel 274 Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.